And welcome back. We are about to finish up round 4 here, the final round of the Underlords Pro Season 3 Grand Finals. And I cannot wait to see how this is all going to play out. Let's check we're out who is still going to be out there. We've got 8 players left, and we've got the final scores, or the scores going into this final round up here on the scoreboard. So, at the top of the standings, we have got MX with 39 points, Nervin with 36 points, Smoggy and G Ryzen both at 34, Divination with 32, and then there's a big drop off between those top 5 and Sizchu with 27, Ceremonials 26, and Alexa with 23.
That is quite that is quite the disparity from 5th position to 6th position. However, everything from the 1st place to the 5th place definitely still have the opportunity to win. Of course, MX, I believe, kind of hoping that Nervin does not beat him at this point, if I'm correct, because that would mean Nervin would win.
Yeah, you just have to imagine if MX just gets a reasonable placement, and then that probably locks in with that 3-point buffer there. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head how the points exactly break down, but you got to think just any kind of reasonable finish from MX, like a 3rd or 4th, and as long as Nervin doesn't take the win within that situation, then MX has got to be the favorite. Unfortunately, even with a strong finish, it feels unlikely that Sizchu, Ceremonials, or Alexa gets the win, but they could certainly get themselves up further in the standings with a good finish in this game. But all eyes are going to be on MX, on Nervin, and to an extent Smoggy and G Ryslin as well. If they can take down a strong finish, they could potentially pull out the win here.
Absolutely. And another thing to note is that Nervin is also the only NE6 player, so it would be kind of hilarious to see that if another NE6 player wins another week of Underlords Pro, which is kind of funny because as far as I know, an NE6 has won for quite a few weeks in a row. So it would definitely feel like an E6 just somehow dominates every tournament.
It is possible. I'm seeing we've got the lobby almost ready to go here, and I'm seeing that when they ready up, you can see what Underlords they've chosen. And Ceremonials, along with Nervin, have both opted for an Essex, so hopefully we can get a little bit more diversity there. I think we're still missing one player out of this, so we'll still wait on them. But yeah, this should be an exciting finals to see these top 8 players, 8 of the best players in the world who have fought through the Underlords Pro Season 3 and then got into the Grand Finals and have fought through 3 very, very tough rounds against great competition to get here into the final 8 players. Who's going to take it all down? Who are you placing your bets on?
Personally, I'd love to see Nervin win, just because it would be quite interesting that all every week so far an NE6 player has won. But personally, I am rooting for I would say G Ryzen or Smoggy. I think their playstyles sort of are similar to mine. And so I feel a little bit of an affinity there. I mean, there's a lot of Hobbin players nowadays, so it's very, very hard for me to choose. You know, I can't. Yeah. It's like choosing between children. I can't be favoring all one of them. You know, if not all of them.
All right, looks like we are getting into the game here. We do have 2 NSX players. We got Ceremonials and Nervin, along with 6 Hobgin players off in round 1. So looks like we've got a pretty good spread. Got a couple people picking up some tinies here. A couple people picking up Shadow Demons. One Shadow Shaman pick, of all things. The G Ryzen has picked up Shadow Shaman, which would often just be considered a joke pickup if you had done this at any point in Underlords past. But Shadow Shaman has certainly shown that he is a much more viable unit nowadays. The troll buff is very widely played, and that Hex is a pretty good ability.
Exactly, and a thing I do want to note as well is no Nyx Assassin pickups. If we check everybody's shops before they go away here, nobody did. Nobody got the offer for Nyx Assassin except MX. MX opted instead for Shadow Demon. So it looks like the assassin opener is just denied for everybody.
No, Ceremonials has picked up 3 bounty hunters in the next pack and has gotten just a natural 3 bounty hunters in that pack, sold off the unit, whatever the unit was beforehand, and has picked up a 2-star bounty hunter to start things off strong.
Well, color me surprised. That is indeed a very good a very good pickup, especially this early. That will probably mean that this kind of secures sort of the idea of going assassins. They obviously it's too early to tell. Potentially, he can still sell it because it is a 2-star, 1-star. It will there will be no net loss for selling that unit. So yeah, we will definitely see.
Even so, Bounty Hunter is just one of the strongest early game units. It has very high DPS, especially when you give him a Gloves of Haste, because he has a good attack speed, high attack damage, has a very impactful Shuriken Toss, deals lots of damage. Bounty Hunter is one of the units that I definitely want to get up to 2-star, whether you're playing Assassins or not. He's just going to be able to carry your early game.
Yeah, indeed. I agree, right? This Bounty Hunter is 100% very effective. And he gets 2 more. This is gonna be...
Well, we did see a 3-star Bounty Hunter earlier in the day in Assassin's Comp, and the rest of that Assassin's composition didn't seem too terribly well suited. There was a lot of 1-stars still left on that comp, so it didn't actually fare all that well, but... You know, that wasn't the fault of 3-star Bounty Hunter. 3-star Bounty Hunter still could do a lot of work. So already over halfway there for Ceremonials. So we'll have to see if that develops further.
Yeah, and it's impressive. It's impressive how many Bounty Hunters he is getting in 3 rounds in a row. That is 5 Bounty Hunters.
Yeah, no one else has picked up any. So you got to imagine there's still a lot left in the pool. And that's a very real possibility.
Sideshoe does go Assassins, but the fact of the matter remains that... Ceremonials will definitely have the lead in terms of their scaling power. Finally gets offered the next assassin. We'll pick that up with the anti-mage. Gets the 3 assassin buff, of course. Chainmail's still in the ogre. Hopefully he spots that before the round starts.
Moving it over to the bounty hunter. That makes a lot of sense. And you know the interesting thing about assassins, and to an extent something like hunters that have a lot of units within the alliance, is that, you know, even if somebody's competing for you on that, some units you're not going to be competing on. We don't see Sideshoe picking up any bounty hunters so far, and maybe doesn't even want to pick up bounty hunters, even if they will play assassins, just because bounty hunter, if it's not 3-star, tends to definitely fall off towards the mid and late game. So maybe just saying, well, if I don't get it to 3-star, we're just not going to play it at all. And that, even though there's another assassins player, Ceremonials could have a very easy shot to get that up to 3-star.
I just want to point out, Divination literally didn't pick anything up until round 4 after the round finished. Not sure if he disconnected or otherwise, but finally picked some stuff up. I'm sure this is an amalgamation, but he literally did not pick anything up.
Was it an open fort strategy? So perhaps had a very bad opening couple rounds and just decided to sell off everything, get 10 gold worth for interest, and then buy up the whole shop afterwards. It's something we haven't seen. Let's see if they get +6 this round. Then yes, they did. Divination got +6, so actually had that interest. So that's a strategy that you don't see often employed nowadays after the Underlords have been implemented, just because the Underlords add to the damage that you take. But it is definitely a viable strategy when you say, my opening 3 rounds were pretty unlucky. I didn't really have too much going for me. I don't think I can win. I don't even think I can really get a kill on an opponent. I'm just going to sell everything off, get an interest on this first round, and then kind of set yourself ahead, because Divination did have interest on the second round too. And even if you're not winning, you're grabbing more gold for interest, and that kind of keeps you competitive throughout the early game.
That's interesting. I definitely haven't seen that often enough to really spot that as like the usual norm, but yeah,
it is rare. It is rare.
Yeah.
It was much more common before the Underlords were implemented, but now that you take more damage for losing because of the Underlord, it's kind of fallen out of favor. Here we see going up against MX, who has a 2-star Pudge already, so a very good start for MX. Getting a 2-star Pudge with just massive health total already, that's got to feel real good if you're MX, even after the Pudge nerfs.
Absolutely. In the meantime, right, Divination will be going fishing. Hopefully he'll find something effective to latch onto. As you say, MX gets that hunter composition actually active and up and running already. Unfortunately, he gets doesn't get that great of a shop this time, but if he can get this secure early hunter game, then perhaps he can just ride this to victory. Of course, Zaishu will be the scissors to his paper. as he is playing assassins and versus hunters. It is commonly known that hunters do not fare very well when you are jumped and instantly killed. So
Yeah,
that would definitely be something
that
to
is
look out.
certainly a risk, and we all know that come the late game, the hunters stacked up around Drow Ranger to maximize that aura also makes you very vulnerable to the premier assassin, the ace of assassin, the Faceless Void with his incredibly powerful Chrono Cube. It's actually looking not so good here for MX. The Pudge is just falling down. The hunters are not dealing enough damage. It looks like this opposing Hobbion is just gonna barely clean up.
The On Fire made, nope, not enough damage. I was gonna say maybe On Fire could do some output there, but the Hobgoblin had just way too much HP. Unfortunately, the Drow did her best, but not enough.
Yes, so very close. I know we had mentioned earlier about Ceremonials, who's now on a losing streak, but does have 7 bounty hunters towards the 9 required to get a 3-star. So, you know, we were casting the duos tournament last night, and Charmer and I were taking guesses on when the earliest 3-star would be completed. And now in duo modes, you obviously have a partner who you can share your unit pool with. So 3-stars are much more common in duo modes, certainly early on, because you basically have twice as many looks at the shop. And so the average time to get a 3-star in duo modes that we saw was like around 8 or 9, sometimes not till around 10 or so, but somewhere in that range. I think it's very possible that Ceremonials gets a round 9 3-star bounty hunter in this game, even though it's not a duos mode.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna mention this, right? He might be potentially having a ghost duo here, getting all of the bounty hunters in the world. So it's gonna be interesting to see.
And it's
how fast that he gains that.
It's not just the bounty hunters either. They're also getting some pretty good options on other assassins. Got a pair of anti-mages, got a phantom assassin here, who's obviously an important assassin to complete the build. Their shop is not that good. They do have a free reroll. That's one of the benefits of a losing streak. Finds another bounty hunter.
Oh my god.
And a Queen of Pain here. So you gotta be thinking this is looking pretty good. And you know, if I'm betting, I'm thinking at least by round like 11 at the latest, you gotta feel like Ceremonials is probably gonna get that 3-star bounty hunter here.
Of course, he could suddenly go on a very unlucky spree and never find that bounty hunter, which has happened in the past. But like, happened to me a lot. But we will definitely, hopefully, for his sake, he will definitely find that final bounty hunter to complete the set. And of course, that he won't be out of the woods, because by the time you hit round 10 and 11, you're gonna need more than just a bounty hunter 3-star.
That is true, and you'll also naturally level up, which is going to decrease your odds of the tier 1 units. On the other hand, as well, kind of working against Ceremonials here, is if you look at the board or the scoreboard, a lot of other people have picked up 1 or 2 bounty hunters for their benches, which is going to reduce the odds in the pool there of Ceremonial finding that unit. Oh, but they found it. They found it. Oh, it's in the shop. It's a round 9. It's a round 9 pickup. There it is. Round 9. And it's an anti-mage as well. This is a round 9 bounty hunter 3-star. We'll see if it's good enough to carry them and turn the tides around, because they are currently on a pretty big losing streak. But, a 3-star has a tendency to turn that around now, doesn't it?
Who needs a duos mode when you have luck? I mean, that is pretty good in this early rounds. We'll see if the bounty hunter and the newly positioned PA will be able to do enough damage. I mean, the bounty hunter itself right now is actually doing so much damage, but actually the fight is turning very hard here. Drow Ranger wasn't finished off, and the Hobgoblin is still standing. Finally goes down. An E6 is getting attacked by both Pudges. Pain attached to the Drow, the Beastmaster, probably the only DPS left. But will finally fall. An E6 so close to death here, but the Pudge switches targets. Unable to secure that, and MX must be a little bit frustrated, but shouldn't be too bothered nonetheless.
Yeah, that bounty hunter pulling its weight, 10,000 damage from the bounty hunter. Meanwhile, everything else was 2,000 or even sub 1,000 damage. So clearly 3-star bounty, the big carry of this game so far for Ceremonials. But that was key to turn that losing streak around and maybe get back on a winning streak path here. But like you said, that's not going to be enough to just carry you along. You do need to get hopefully 2-star on things like Phantom Assassin, Queen of Pain, and the Morphling to really start pulling ahead in these matches.
I believe a good example would be Zaichu, right? I believe it was last game was Zaichu who got a lot of 3-star assassins. No, who had the 3-star bounty hunter previous game?
I don't recall,
Uh,
but yes, I do
yeah,
remember. It's where they had a 3-star bounty hunter, but then still running like 3 or 4 1-star assassins otherwise, and it was just definitely not enough
yeah,
past round 10 or
it
15.
yeah. Yeah, but essentially the point is, right, that yes, this is kind of hilarious that he has this really quickly, but you're also sort of gimping the other assassins. Potentially, she's just not finding any other assassins, but the point is that this bounty hunter will eventually stop being your one true savior, and you're gonna have to find something else.
Certainly will. So looking around the rest of the table, we actually see Ceremonious has picked up Rejuvenating Ritual, and that is an interesting talent that we've not seen any of the NSX players pick up so far. It essentially restores the functionality of Martyr's Boon to what it was before this most recent patch change, where it will heal 50% of the damage up front, and then the rest of the heal will come over the duration.
Of course, it's a different variety to what Nervin has always picked up, which was Brill Bruiser. And ironically enough, Nervin also picks up Barricades. So that an A6 is gonna be fine. Actually, I think the Barricades are simply to protect against assassins, which is smart, right? It's a very good way to defend your ranged units from said assassins. So
Yeah, definitely.
But we'll see if those Barricades are as effective as they usually are, because again, they're not as good as a target dummy, which ironically enough, nobody has really prioritized a target dummy in quite some time, especially in this meta. So
Well, it's still, it's just as strong as it used to be whenever you pick it up. The problem is that you're often deciding between, do I want Target Buddy, or do I want a Mask of Madness, or do I want a Maelstrom, or do I want a Sacred Relic, or whatever other tier 3 item you may be offered. And, if you're offered the option of Target Buddy versus tier 2 items, you're still probably going to pick Target Buddy. It's still very strong compared to tier 2 items, but it doesn't really hold up against some of the premier tier 3 items like I mentioned earlier.
yeah, I guess that is a fair decision, right? Because as you say, the target dummy hasn't been changed, but I guess its environment has been adjusted.
Yeah.
So Target Buddy has felt like a less popular choice. But of course, Barricades for some reason in Nervin. I guess Nervin's choices were just not very good, as I wouldn't think Barricades was the first option at all.
A lot of the tier 2 items are not very good, I'll say. There's very few combat impact items there. There's very little ones that offer combat stats. And so that means there's not like anything that's just generically useful to every composition every time. So what you end up with is kind of like these weird utility / support items where there's no clear cut difference, and sometimes you just end up with something like the Barricades, and it's acceptable at times, even if it's not the best.
Yeah. I wanted to say, Smoggy actually going for the Brute Primordial build. Taking a look at that, he almost has the level 2 Alliance. However, it looks like he will be unable to beat Nervin here. Or I say that too early, as the Bristleback goes down, which means a lot of the damage output is finally dead. Nature's Wrath comes out as well. The Treant Protector still alive, of course, because of that Helm of the Undying. And it's now Hobgin versus Anisix, and I'm sure everyone knows how this story goes, unless that Brill Bruiser bashes Hobgin to oblivion, which it will not do. Nature's Wrath procs. Actually, Brill Bruiser will bash him to oblivion. And
wow.
he doesn't win that because the Brill Bruiser just walks up and hits him.
All right, well, there's your argument for Brill Bruiser. I was initially doubting it, but kind of is pretty good in that long fight.
Yeah, especially if it's the only unit alive and Hobgin has to kill off an E6. If it was the range unit, obviously Hobgin would have won that, but because Hobgin was just bashed to death, I guess it's just quite unfortunate.
Well, if there was the range unit, that Brill Bruiser would have been dealing, or that companion would have been dealing damage longer throughout the fight. That Brill Bruiser really didn't become relevant until the very end of the fight, so maybe the NSX wins that even harder without Brill Bruiser, just because it never gets to that point.
Yeah, we'll see if that will definitely change, because Nervin has been picking up Brill Bruiser every round, so it's definitely a favorite for him at least, right?
Sure.
So absolutely solid build.
So looking at Smoggy here, it seems like the build is currently heavily favored towards a mage build, which we haven't seen too terribly much today, and I don't think that's due to like the weakness of mages. I think it's due to the fact that Lena is in jail today, which is a critical human and mage, which is very important to, or very impactful to be missing out of a mage composition. But we see a good start to mages. Obviously, we talked about Razor being buffed on the most recent patch. Does have a Morphling, which deals lots of AoE magic damage. Does have the Nature's Prophet, who can deal magic damage as well. So, this is a good start so far, since their mages are typically weak early game. Still surviving, or still being pretty healthy at this point. Is guys got to feel good.
Smoggy also does find the IO, which means he gets that level 2 primordial buff as well as that druid buff to keep that keep everything on the board rather. And he will be, ironically enough, going against Nervin. This is like the second time in 3 rounds, so we'll see if everything has changed for him. The Razor unfortunately hasn't gotten his ability off, finally gets it off, and Nervin actually taking so much damage from that combo. But will that be all there is for this composition? It looks like it will be. It doesn't look like there's any more damage to be done here. Io will come back with a unit, but it might be too little too late. He comes back with Shadow Shaman. That's not what you want. Explosivo lands on 2 units, but unfortunately the Shadow Demon survives with 29 HP, and it will just be Shadow Shaman on his own with the with the Eidolon, but the Eidolon will not do enough.
Yeah, I gotta question the decision there to go with Io to get the primordial buff, but you give up on a Treant. Just sold off a Treant Protector who had the potential to get up to 2-star, and we've talked about 2-star Treant Protector being such a powerful early game option, but instead choosing to go with the Io, the primordial bonus, which I still think is kind of weak until you get up to 6 primordials, and just giving up the possibility of a 2-star Treant.
The problem is the fact that now to hit 6 primordials, he has to level up really fast, and leveling up really fast when you're losing, it's a recipe for somewhat a disaster, right? You have to be very careful with how you really want to operate this train. Obviously, they will be looking to get Grease Fire. I believe that's what he picked up. Smoggy. No, he picks up Hot Rod. So he's thinking of going Let's Go Crazy. I'm kind of interested because I would think you would want Friendly Fire with this, right? Or in fact, Explosivo.
Yeah, the implosion. So it's a little surprising to see. I mean, you mentioned going for 6 primordials, but I think 6 primordials is kind of not really a great option given the current jail, with Arc Warden being one of the premier primordials in jail today. And based on the bench that they're building up with the Puck and the Crystal Maiden and the Morphling, I gotta feel like they're going more towards a mage build, which makes that pick of Hot Rod even more surprising, I'd say.
Perhaps feeling a little bit of pressure to try something new to beat MX, and in fact, as well as Smoggy, right? Of course, he is, I believe, in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, or rather, Nervin and MX. So perhaps feeling the pressure, trying to do something new here, just to just surprise, I guess, the rest of the pool. He will be, funnily enough, going against MX here. We will see if this mage strat will bear fruit at any point. Frostbite connects on the Beastmaster, and the Explosivo damage does so much, but you have to wonder if that would have done more if that was a double damage implosion. But regardless, we will see they're all so low. If that Nature's Wrath gets popped one more time, which it will obliterate everything in its path. The Hobgin's still standing, though. Another Explosivo lands on the Pudge front line, but that's not what you want it to be. But it will be enough, however, because Hobgin does not have enough HP.
Yeah, I was really concerned at the start of that fight. I saw MX had double 2-star Pudge, and I thought, how are you going to possibly punch through that much health total? But, they got the Mage bonus online, so a lot of that magic damage from Razor, which has been buffed, from Morphling, which has been strong for a while, with the Nature's Prophet, it does stack up. The Explosivo just deals tons of damage as well, so yeah, this Mage build's starting to come together a little bit. Had a little bit of a rough patch, but still relatively healthy, and should be in pretty good shape. In the meantime, we've got Nervin, who is 1 win away from completing a win streak. So let's take a look at that and see what they're working with.
So at the moment, it looks like it's a Savage, Heartless Warrior sort of composition. Again, the barricades make it very easy to put a Brill Bruiser at the front. But funnily enough, the barricades will not matter against assassins. We will see if these assassins manage to find the targets they need. Unfortunately, the PA actually gets hit with an arrow to the face, then hooked back to his death. However, there are still assassins that exist. The Bounty Hunter 3-star we mentioned earlier, still in the pool, still fighting forward. The opposing Anise6 rather, still standing, almost got picked off, but it will not be enough. And it looks like, unfortunately, Ceremonials stood no chance.
Yeah, the stacked corner formation. Actually, it seems like Nervin is particularly formed up against the assassins. I mean, you see that some melee units like the Slarter and the Tusk and the Ogre Magi are totally trapped in there, which really is then this build or this formation is not the greatest unless you've got assassins jumping in on you. And in that case, the assassins jumped in and they just got immediately picked up by the melee units, and that completes Nervin's win streak. So Nervin is now up to level 8, has the highest net worth in the game by a healthy margin, 153 net worth, and is looking to be in a very good position to continue on and ensure a top placement in this game by completing that win streak.
Yeah, and while Nervin is winning very hard, MX has to feel the pressure a little bit now, right? Because if Nervin has a better position than he does, MX will unfortunately lose his first place. So he has to be thinking about how to transition into this. And funnily enough, he will be fighting Smoggy, who also has a chip in this fight, still going with that mage strat with Primordials. It looks like the damage output is very high here, but will it be enough? Explosivo lands the first time, waiting for that second supercharge to finally inflict the waveform in the backline, and it looks like everything in everything on the side of MX just got obliterated, and Smoggy takes another chip off of him.
Yeah, MX has a losing streak going on right now, but it's not a huge one. And just taking, actually, it's a very large losing streak. It is on an 8-round losing streak for MX. But if you're just losing by 4 life total, to keep a big losing streak going, which does get you bonus gold for a losing streak gold, and does get you the free reroll, and if you're not taking too much damage, you're not terribly upset with that. Especially because very close to a 3-star Beastmaster, which we know is incredibly powerful once you get that upgraded to 3-star, has the workings of a good late game, warrior/hunter comp with close to 3-star Pudge as well. So maybe you're not that upset with this slight loss from MX's side.
I suppose, right? If he's taking small losses like that, I'm sure he'll probably live with it. And looking at his composition, right, it's slowly building up. He has that lifestealer, potentially transitions into like a brute frontline or a warrior frontline. Again, both options are still open. We'll be going against Ceremonials here, who has assassins, and look at that. All the assassins are scrunched up in between all of the hunters, but it looks like all the hunters are just doing more damage.
Yeah, they just get shredded by the Beastmasters. Please bunch up for my Beastmaster to just shred right through you with the wild axes. Remember, assassins have no defensive capabilities. They are very weak in terms of mitigating damage, at least until you get the ace unit, which gives you a little bit of protection. But those 2 Beastmasters just both giving the wild axes just completely demolished Ceremonials there. And now we got to think Ceremonials is in a bit of a struggle. It did have that early 3-star bounty hunter, but then what? Nothing's really going well for Ceremonials right now.
That bounty hunter was I would dare say a little bit of a trap, because now he kind of has to struggle to look for better assassins. We mentioned we need more than just that 3-star bounty hunter. Look, Queen of Pain is at one star. Slark is at 1 star. Yes, PA is at 2-star, but there's no TA on this board. You kind of have to rely on a puck. He had to put down a puck to get that elusive buff.
Yeah, and that's... Oh, God, that feels so bad. I mean, you're still running the 1-star Slark, 1-star Queen, and it's... You have no front line, you have no CC. You typically would see something like Tiny, or perhaps... I mean, the Sand King could go in there to give a little bit of stun, or a Tide Hunter, but... you don't see any of those on the board, so there's no stun, there's just pure damage, and if your opponent, gets a stun off on you, there's a Faceless Void on the bench for Ceremonials. You gotta imagine that's coming in next turn. That could totally change the course of this game. I know we've seen so much on this Faceless Void's completely dominating late game fights, typically with other ranged damage builds like Hunters or whatnot, but it's still exceptionally good in Assassins.
Absolutely. I believe, if I remember correctly, Assassins are not affected by Chronos, unless I got that wrong.
So they are bounced out. They are immediately teleported out, but then if they jump back in, they will be stunned if they jump back in, though.
Okay. So, I mean, again, Faceless Void, as you mentioned, right, we talked about the last round. With ranged units, he can be devastating. With Assassins, potentially kill everything outside the Chrono Cube, and then kill everything inside the Chrono Cube. And the issue we might potentially see is that the Chrono Cube just sort of protects rather than assists the Assassins. But, of course, that is sort of like the weird odds we kind of have to see, as, of course, at the moment, they are definitely fighting to stay in this game at 26 HP. Finally gets that tier 2 Queen of Pain, but I don't think he'll be putting that down anytime soon. Goes against Smoggy, who is going this mage comp, and you have to wonder if this Faceless Void doesn't do enough. This mage strat will obliterate everything into the next sunset. This Chrono Cube finally lands though, and look at these assassins in the outer ring dealing damage, but it's not enough. The mages get out, and they're gonna deal damage. Or Nature's Wrath also connects, but it looks like Nature's Wrath won't be sufficient. 2 Nature's Wrath pop out, but it's not enough. 2 Helms of the Undying is also not enough, and that Chrono Cube looks like bought enough time to kill off the sides so that you could pressure the squishier mage units in the center.
Yeah, the one problem with the mages is they don't really have focus fire damage. They got a lot of AoE from the Nature's Wrath and from the Plasma Field from Razor, and that just was not enough to deal with the Bounty Hunter 3-star, despite the fact that, you know, maybe he's not the biggest carry at this point in the game. He does have a lot of health. That's 4,400 health, and just kind of doing some AoE damage here and there is not going to be enough to burn through a 3-star unit, especially when it has the chance to dodge those effects due to the Ace effect of Faceless Void. The Assassins have a 10% chance to dodge any of the spells that are thrown that way. So that Faceless Void was definitely a massive improvement on this composition, as well as completing the insect buff. So maybe Ceremonials can turn it around here, though.
Well, at the moment, he finally completes the insect buff. He completed it last round. Yep. But at the moment, he's probably hunting for the Templar Assassin here, finish that elusive buff. But then again, you have to consider, what do you really replace at this point? He is going against Saichu here with a Troll Warlord in his composition, and as you can see, the Troll Warlord actually pushing forward. The Chrono Cube lands on so many units. The Troll Warlord is exposed and alone, but he kills off all of the assailants, and he stays alive at
100 health. Yeah.
And he auto-attacks into the Bounty Hunter, finally gets that done. Anisix drops dead because all the other units are down, and Ceremonial takes 14 damage, and that Chrono Cube bought the Assassin's time.
That looked like the perfect Chrono Cube. It really did. All the Assassins were still on the edge and still doing their thing, but the Troll Warlord just barely survived and was able to clean up, and Ceremonial take a big hit for it, and now he's really one shot away. It did level up to 9, so it gets the chance to add in that Queen of Pain, but like you said, really looking for that Templar Assassin to either replace the Queen of Pain or the Morphling here to get that elusive bonus, to get that increased survivability on your Anti-Mage, your Phantom Assassin, and the Templar Assassin itself.
I'm sure he is considering picking up the Luna just to get the elusive buff, because he is being offered Luna, and that will give him the elusive buff. And that might just be a desperation call. I need elusive, but he re-rolls it away. So he will not get that opportunity for an elusive buff. He doesn't feel like it's the key to victory here. And you have to wonder, what if, right? What if you decided to put an elusive buff on your team? What if you switched out the Queen of Pain for just the elusive buff in general? But at this point, anything has to help, and we will see if that Nyx Assassin 2-star and that 2-star Sand King will change the course of his fate here. We will see if he stays in this fight. Divination with Extra Ward and Sniper. Once again, it's up to the Faceless Void and the Chrono Cube to do enough damage to keep them in the game. Hobbian actually dies instantly. Chrono Cube finally lands, but the Sniper is completely uncontested. No Assassin is next to him. Assassin comes out on the PA. However, was that enough damage? For Warlord is now being focus fired by 5 different Assassins. The Burrow Strike once again connects, and Lone Druid finally gets the second bear off, but it's going to be too late as everything else has already died.
Yeah, so what I'm curious about is, does Ceremonials lock this shop here to buy that second Broodmother? Is Broodmother 2-star still an important play here? They don't have the gold right now, so they'd either have to sell off the Phantom Assassin or the Anti-Mage, or lock the shop to pick up that second Broodmother. It would not be a 2-star just yet, but you got to think that's an improvement that you want to make eventually, and it looks like it just gets rolled away.
He will pick up another Anti-Mage, re-rolls again. He's so low in economy, and I don't think an Anti-Mage 3-star will be your out, my friend. He's still looking for it, doesn't find it.
Yeah, it's hard to think that's the right play here, but very close. And you know, if last round was any indication, can still possibly sneak away with another round or two. And if you can survive this round, then you can get to the creep round, get another little bit of a respite, get a little bit of a breathing room. Around, get a new item, possibly something like a Mask of Madness or some other good item to upgrade, and come back with maybe another upgrade on the other end of that.
He will be going against G Ryzen here, who once again is in the running for victory here, so he will be looking to win against Ceremonials, but Ceremonials pushing forward, kills off the Medusa. Draw Ranger also exposed. Chrono Cube lands, and it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. Connects on the Lone Druid and the Pudge, which leaves them out of the fight. The Assassins just kill off every other squishy unit. Bounty Hunter is hexed, but for what? It's just Hobgen on his own. Let's Go Crazy is good, but it's not that good. Burrow Strike connects, and it's just Hobgen against all of these Assassins, and he will go down. And G Ryzen takes 13 damage, and as you say, Ceremonials live to see another day and gets a neutral round to buy some time.
Absolutely, it seems like that upgrade on the Queen of Pain and the Sand King and the Nyx Assassin we saw a few rounds ago has really turned the tide here for Ceremonials, has been able to stabilize at least somewhat, but of course everyone is going to be getting upgrades and is going to get new items and new talents and new abilities going into this next round. Does find the 3-star Anti-Mage, so maybe that will be the key to victory, but also still wants to complete that elusive bonus with ideally with a Templar Assassin replacing either the Queen of Pain or the Morphling. Yeah. Now, looking around the rest of the board, we've got Nervin, who is still sitting pretty at nearly double the health total of everyone else. Still sitting at 77 life total, where second place is at 42.
So, just looking at the board, Smoggy and Alexa actually do opt out of trying to go Let's Go Crazy in favor of that friendly fire. So, we didn't highlight that, but there they are. So, unfortunately, the only Grease Fire player picks up the friendly fire, but it looks like Alexa and I believe Smoggy have transitioned into friendly fire, of course, to deal magic damage.
It makes a lot of sense for Smoggy, who's going for the mage build, because the friendly fire is amplified by the mage bonus, because it does deal magic damage. Those bombs deal magic damage, and so that will make a lot of sense if he can get up to 3 or 6 mages. Currently just sitting at 3 mages, and may just opt to sit at 3 mages and then just add in more damage dealers rather than try to get up to 6 mages, because without Lina, that's a little bit tricky. You do need to play every other mage in the game, including Lich, which has not yet been found.
For Alexa here, I'm not quite sure. Perhaps just feeling the lack of just burst damage, so deciding to not go to Let's Go Crazy rather than Friendly Fire, because again, that's a good source of burst damage. Of course, Let's Go Crazy is better for just turning Hobgen into hyper carry. But again, just a change of mind for his current situation, of course, at 30 HP. So you kind of have to consider the position they are in.
Yeah, Alexa, she's in a little bit of a tough spot because there's not a lot of damage in this composition. They do have the 3 Hunter bonus, but that's a 1-star Sniper, that's a 1-star Marana, that's a 2-star Drow Ranger. These aren't like game changers. These aren't like demolish your whole team in a couple of shots. This is pretty low damage output for this point in the game. Gonna rely on this big stun.
What is a game changer though? Yeah. What's going to be a game changer is this Chrono Cube managing to connect to all of these mages. The Pipe doing a lot of work to keep all of these mages alive. The Caudal Blast about to fire in a second here and obliterates everything in its path. Friendly Fire is still not active, however, because the Hobgen was stunned. Another Lich Ult bounces through, and the opposing Hobgen gonna get arrowed in the face, and unfortunately, it looks like Smoggy will be unable to secure this win. Friendly Fire does come down, but it doesn't get any pickups. In fact, that was Alexa's Friendly Fire. In the meantime, Ceremonials actually beats Nervin, who also has been currently on a losing and winning, rather, back and forth.
Ceremonials has found that Templar Assassin, so has completed kind of the complete Assassin build, in the sense that you've got the Elusive buff, you got the Assassin buff, you got the Insect buff, and they did replace the Morphling in opting to keep the Queen of Pain around. And it's kind of has all the synergies online that you typically are expecting. It does not have a Slark, so it's not going to be hyper carried by a Slark. Actually opts out of that Queen of Pain in exchange for a second Phantom Assassin. Now, that's kind of a close call, I think, between a 2-star Phantom Assassin and 2-star Queen of Pain. Queen of Pain obviously dealing much more AoE damage, whereas Phantom Assassin, especially with the elusive buff, is much more single target focused and a little bit more resilient in terms of getting that evasion.
Smoggy here, unfortunately gets Chrono Cube all of his units. However, Chrono Cube doesn't really work when everything is in the corner and everything lands on everything is Chrono Cubed for the opposing player. It looks like, unfortunately, Smoggy again has no retaliation for these assassins, and Smoggy currently on a losing streak. Well, not on a losing streak, but rather losing so much HP. Oh, he is on a losing
streak. Half the life total there, 17 down to 17, and this game's a real nail biter. We thought Nervin was comfortably ahead. I said double the health total just 2 rounds ago, but now you've got Nervin and G Ryzen at 33 and 43, and then everyone else is flashing red health totals. It's a very close one, as almost every one of our games today has been.
MX has to be very concerned with this situation. He has to survive. That's basically at this point, as long as Nervin goes out before he does, he will win this tournament. And a few things to consider is, again, Smoggy, MX, I mentioned MX, but G Ryzen, right? Smoggy, G Ryzen, they still have their opportunity, which means if G Ryzen in fact beats NRVN, I believe he will win the tournament. So there's quite a lot of contention for MX's throne, and MX currently in a desperate situation to get a win here. He will be going against Smoggy, who currently is on a losing streak, but look at that burst damage. Those hunters
Beastmasters insane.
Those Beastmasters no longer exist. Where did your hunters go? They're in the grave, 6 feet down, as MX takes another 9 points of damage.
Yeah, MX is definitely low on life, low on gold. And I gotta say, I gotta feel bad that MX, I feel like it's gotten a little bit unlucky this game. I remember we talked about MX was on a big losing streak early on. It was still at 50-something life, had like an 8-round losing streak. But I said, the saving grace is they're like 1 or 2 Beastmasters away from 3-star. They're 1 or 2 Pudges away from 3-star. They're still 1 or 2 Beastmasters and one Beastmaster and 1 Pudge away from getting those to 3-star. You gotta feel like, come on. It's just so close to those big upgrades that it would definitely change the fate of them, but it just has not found those upgrades yet.
On the bright side, NRVN is took like, I believe, 16 damage from Ceremonials. So Ceremonials, we're definitely seeing a growth of a rock paper scissors situation here. NRVN beating quite a few of these players. However, Ceremonials just obliterating everybody at this point. Meanwhile, Smoggy able to beat MX. Meanwhile, MX able to at least buy time against opposing players. So definitely too many eyes to look out for.
Let's take a look at Saichu, who has a 2-star Troll Warlord just completed here, and that, despite the nerfs, is still exceptionally powerful.
Ravage just connect for the side of Saichu. Saichu pushing forward. The Troll Warlord 2-star, as you say, is very strong. Stone Gaze petrifying all the front line, but look at this. The front line is collapsing. It's up to the DPS from the side of G Ryzen. Hold up, G Ryzen. All of his damage units are dead. It's up to the bear, but the bear is not enough. And Saichu managed to crawl that win away. 10 points of damage goes straight to G Ryzen. Meanwhile, NRVN takes so much damage from Smoggy. He got obliterated by the Mage Strat. NRVN now dropping to 14 HP. Ceremonials lost to MX this time, and Ceremonials at 1 HP. MX stays in this fight, and once again, the fight for the throne is as close as ever.
Oh my god, you couldn't ask for a better finish in this final game of our grand finals. It is so incredibly close. Everybody has blinking red health totals. It is right down to the wire. As we've said many times before, this is a game of inches, and you will see no better example than right here, right now in this game. It is so incredibly close between all of our competitors. And, we have to look at who has Aegis of the Immortal. That could be a huge factor in these games. We see MX has one, and we see Nervin. Actually, most players have one. The only ones that do not are Divination, who's currently at the top of the standings, as well as Ceremonials and Saichu, who are definitely within one-shot range. So everyone else has a little bit of a respite, a little bit of a second life there. But if everyone has a second life, it kind of means no one has a second life.
Fitting for Dota Underlords that it becomes a game of chicken at this point. There's so many Aegis. It's all about who loses that Aegis first and who is on the chopping block. And in the meantime, we currently, again, as you mentioned, Saichu, Ceremonials, and Divination are all on those chopping block. But I want to highlight, Divination is now winning. And if Divination wins this, and if Nervin and MX lose this at 6th, 7th, or 8th, Divination can technically still make it to 2nd or even 1st. So that is something to watch out for. Literally almost everybody has a spot.
It is anybody's game. Absolutely anybody's game. And let's take a look at. We see MX finally got that upgrade to the Beastmaster. It's been a long time coming, but a 3-star Beastmaster. I love Beastmaster. He is so much fun to play, especially if you get him up to 3-star. It's really late to get a 3-star Beastmaster at this point, but better late than never. And what better time when you are just you've got elimination knocking at your door, so might as well find your biggest upgrade and hope for the best there.
MX actually decides to pick up Scythe of Vice instead of Pipe of Insight. That might bite him in the butt later because Smoggy is a Mage Strat and he has obliterated MX in the past, so that perhaps could again be a big detriment. Once again, I'll probably follow MX here. There's just so many players to follow and so many opportunities for anyone to be eliminated, but we will see MX again, leader, king. If he loses, he will lose his throne because NRVN is still in this game. We have to see if he can still stay in this fight. Who will be his competitor? It will be Alexa, who again will have to be winning in the top score.
There's a Faceless Void against this Hunter comp.
It is. There will be. The Void gets the critical kill with all of the hunters. MX is completely helpless. All of his front line has no assistance. Assassinate comes out on the Mirana. Ravage comes out on the front line. Where is the damage? The Necrophone.
Beastmaster's still up.
The Mirana is the back line. The MX has no damage, but the front line, the Beastmaster's still alive. As you say, the Whirling Axis doing so much damage. The Mirana and the Beastmaster's all up to them now. The damage is there. Mirana is the only sole survivor. Arrow connects on the Beastmaster, and Alexa will stay alive in this fight, and MX will keep his throne. He's still in this battle. Meanwhile, Smoggy loses to Zaichu. NRVN versus G-Ryzen. G-Ryzen loses to NRVN, and everyone's still in this game. Divination loses to Ceremonials, and we have all 8 players, but round 32, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you call a ULP finals. Everybody is fighting for their lives.
First place is at 16 life. Last place is at 1 health. It is like anybody can get eliminated on a single round here. It is so incredibly tense. I just cannot stand it. The Beastmaster in that fight for MX pulled massive. You know, if they didn't have that Beastmaster up to 3-star there, it definitely would have got eliminated much earlier, and this could have easily been a loss for MX and popped that Aegis. But as it stands, we're going to keep watching MX for this next fight and see if MX can hold on to that Aegis and possibly knock out somebody to further cement a higher placement.
He will be going against Divination here with that Dragon, with all of these Hunters as well. It'll be a Hunter v Hunter composition. He does have a Beastmaster 3-star. Finally gets the Whirling Axis off. The cooldown does connect 2 cooldowns, in fact. Will do so much damage here, but will it be enough? The Hobgin actually dies on the side of Divination, but will that be enough to give MX enough grief here, as Hobgin actually will die? And look at this, all the DPS still stands. Ravage connects, but it's only the Lifestealer. Will Lifestealer heal up? Oh my god, the
Lifestealer 1v4!
He's doing so much damage. This is what happens when you buff a Lifestealer. So much healing. He refuses to
1v5, 4 or 5 there.
MX, his Lifestealer carries so hard. Oh my god,
that
Divination has to be shaking his head.
Supercharged Lifesteal, the damage reduction, the bonus attack speed, the Lifesteal, the buff to Lifestealer just 2 days ago from the balance patch. Oh my goodness, that's so incredible. And no one's still eliminated. It is round 33. We see Ceremonials has picked up a 3-star Phantom Assassin, has a 3-star Bounty Hunter and Anti-Mage, and is just barely hanging on here. This is like about as complete as of an assassin build as you can get, but it might not matter with everyone else also having incredibly powerful builds so far. It's oh my goodness, what is Alexa?
Has lost his Aegis. We will continue to follow Ceremonials here because this is very intense. He's still at 1 HP, still fighting. And it'll be extremely dangerous to see how this fight will go. He will be going against Divination here. Again, the top dog. But again, it's so hard to follow anything because cooldown connects, Chrono Cube connects, all of the front line is in the outer exterior. The Hoggen has no abilities active. Hook comes out on the Anisix, but Anisix is safe and sound. Ravage connects on all of the 3-star units. They're gonna push forward here. The Troll is still standing, but he's only a 1-star. Oh my god. Divination is gonna fall apart here. He has to kill more units if he wants to stay in this game. He doesn't kill the...
Divination's out!
Does, but it's not going to be enough. Divination will finally be out. Zaichu loses to Smoggy. In the meantime, MX breaks his Aegis against G-Ryzen. Alexa versus NRVN is still on the way. They're still fighting to stay in this fight. NRVN versus Alexa. Alexa so close. Assassinate comes out on the Draw Ranger, but it's up to the Mirana now versus the the Anisix and the Shadow Demon. The Mirana has no cooldowns. He got broken as well. Will this be enough? And it will be. Alexa loses to NRVN. Barely. And Divination finally falls.
7 players sub 10 health. Are you kidding me? 7 players are still alive on round 34. Every single one of them is under 10 health. And I just, how do you handle this? If you are a player, this has got to be the most stressful thing in the world. It's the final round of the grand finals of the Underlords Pro Season 3. And this game determines everything. And you've got first place to 7th place. 8 health difference.
MX is back on the throne at 9 HP, but remember, a single fatal wound will end your life. MX has to stay on his throne. He has to stay alive. He's against Zaichu, who has a claim to his throne. We will see if Zaichu can end his life here and finally put an end to that reign, because he cannot afford to go 7th place. And Ravage connects, but this Beastmaster, look at those wild axes, do so much damage with the Hunters, still doing so much damage. The Troll Warlord 2-star doing a lot, but the Hobgoblin finally dies. Both Hobgoblins dies. But
Podge with Blade Mail.
It's all dead. And unfortunately, Saichu does not have enough damage. MX finally says, no, you will not take my throne. You will stay down.
Saichu out in 7.
Straight down the stairs. And Saichu will be eliminated. Meanwhile, NRVN it was fighting Saichu. Saichu actually... Sorry, NRVN loses to Saichu, but breaks his Aegis. Alexa loses to Ceremonials. G-Ryzen loses to Smoggy. That's all the Aegis is popped. There's only one Aegis left, and that's on MX. Or sorry, MX also lost his Aegis.
Smoggy has an Aegis still.
Smoggy has the
with
Aegis.
3 health.
Oh.
And now we get to breathe. We get a dragon round. Take a breath. Wow, we still have so Saichu and Alexa eliminated in these past 2 rounds on 7th and 6th place respectively. We still have a dragon round, so people have a good chance of picking up some tier 5 tier 5 items here. MX currently sitting in first. Visual display is a little bit wrong here. Let's just double check the Aegis. MX does not have an Aegis. Nervin does not. G-Ryzen does not. I believe it is just Smoggy. Yes, it is just Smoggy with an Aegis. So we'll watch MX going into the final round or the next round, and hopefully can stay alive and continue to defend the top spot in the standings.
I mean, as they say, 'tis the burden who wears the heavy crown. This is MX's game to lose. Bear in mind, the top 4 in this game are all players who have claim to his throne. If MX loses last in this top 4, he will lose that throne. And RVN, all he has to do is not lose 3rd. He has to survive until at least 3rd place and hope that G-Ryzen or Smoggy do not get first. And they will secure the win. Ceremonials, what he has to hope for is MX and RVN lose before him and then win 1st place. That is his only chance mathematically to get even top 3. Ceremonials has fought for his life. We thought he would go out first, but here he is standing in the mountain with the top 4 players of UPL. This is the reason why he was in top 8, ladies and gentlemen. This is why he is fighting for his life. However, MX, again, still fighting for his throne. We will see if he is able to fend off the attackers to his castle. The siege on his fort begins now against Smoggy, who previously
it's a ghost of Smoggy.
His composition. In fact, it is a ghost of Smoggy. We will see if his team will be able to do anything about this. Remember, if these mages get their damage off, it will be all over, but they're all silenced. They're not going to cast anything. Lich bounces off. The Caudal going to get his Caudal Blast off in a second, but he's still silenced. He's going to get eliminated, but Smoggy is unable to do enough damage. However, that is just a ghost. However, we will jump.
MX survives. Let's go over to Nervin and G-Ryzen here. One of these two will be eliminated if they lose by any substantial amount, and it looks like G-Ryzen is out in 5th. Eliminated by Nervin. Smoggy loses the Aegis.
Smoggy loses the Aegis, which means that is exposed. G-Ryzen loses, which means he is no longer have any claim to the throne. And Max, again, has to just beat NRB and Smoggy to win this game. He is still at the top of the throne, but however, we haven't seen him fight NRVN yet. We haven't seen him. We have seen him fight Smoggy, so Smoggy has his work cut out for him. Has 2 Caudals, but as previous fight, the Explosivo silenced every mage in existence. So he has to be careful. Ceremonials still in this game, and we noticed
somehow it's got up to level 10. How did you get to level 10? You spent so much gold to get all these rerolls. Let's keep on watching MX, because that's obviously the current 1st place person in the standings, and we need to see if MX can survive this fight against Ceremonials and all the Assassins. It's a bad matchup for the Hunters.
The Chrono Cube gonna latch on here very soon. That's finally gonna land, but it's gonna land. Actually, it's gonna land on very many.
Beastmaster's out of it. He's good.
The Beastmaster is perfectly fine here, but he's not getting attacked at all by the assassins. He's being fine. The Temporary Assassin's too busy trying to fight off the units on the right-hand side. The Beastmaster's still alive, and Ceremonials has no longer
Nervin's out
for the throne. And RVN dies, which means Smoggy has to beat MX to win this tournament. Or rather, is it even possible at this point? If Smoggy beats this...
Smoggy's down by 5 points. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if 1st to 2nd is a 5-point difference.
But the point being is that if Smoggy is able to beat MX, he has a chance. NRVN unfortunately went out 4th place, which means MX has killed off every successor to his throne except Smoggy, the last child, the final son, the only player who went mages, regardless of the Lina loss. Proves that no matter what build you go, as long as you are a better player than everybody else, you will make it to top 2 in the finals of the greatest players in Underlords right now. MX versus Smoggy, the final fight, potentially. We will see if MX is able to clean this up, or if Smoggy is able to turn this fight around. The Caudals are already silenced. The Hobgun has to launch the Explosivo, but he's silenced. He has to stop these Caudals. The first blast comes out, and no obliterates everything. MX has no Aegis. He can't afford to lose.
MX is winning.
But look at these mages. They're all dead. There is no Aegis on MX, or rather on Smoggy, which means Smoggy will be eliminated. MX, the Coddles were not enough, and MX will take his claim to the throne, and Smoggy will unfortunately be unable to beat the king, and the king stands proudly among the ashes of 7 other players who had a claim to his throne, and he managed to stand tall among all of them.
Absolute insanity. We were talking so much about all the different scoring possibilities. MX had a lead going into this finals. MX was up by 3 points over the next closest competitor going into this final round, and we thought, okay, well, what if MX has a bad game? What if this other person does well? What if MX does, what if? Turns out you don't need to think about what if, just win. If you win, you keep your title. You get to win the whole game. MX actually finishes this game with a 14-15 round record. Actually had a losing round record. But because we talked about it much earlier on in the game, we saw that MX was on a losing streak, but it was a small losing streak. You just kept on losing by 2 or 3 or 4 damage. Turns out, you do that, you get your 3-star Beastmaster, you get your 3-star Pudge, you slap a Blade Mail on them, you get your Hunter comp together, and they can just absolutely shred people in the late game. A well-deserved victory to MX, who gets to retain the title and win Underlords Pro League Season 3 Grand Finals. Congratulations to MX and to all of our competitors who put on an amazing show today.
Once again, we still have to hold on, because we will see if our VN does step down a peg, because Smoggy did get second, and Smoggy was, I believe, vying for 3rd or 4th. So the scoreboard is finally up. We will take a look at that.
Here's the scoreboard. We've got MX obviously in first, as we've discussed, but Smoggy comes in 2nd place with 46 points. Nervin with 43 points rounds out the top 3. Followed by G. Ryzen in 4th, Ceremonials in 5th, Divination in 6th, Saichu in 7th, and Alexa in 8th.
I just want to highlight Ceremonials was last place, ladies and gentlemen. He was last place with Divination. So, just goes to show you, he could have technically won this if MX had died at any point, right? And potentially he was close, but unfortunately, there are reasons why MX, NRVN, Smoggy, and G Ryzen were at the top.
Absolutely. What an incredible tournament. Incredible finals with so close. Such an incredibly close game with everybody being so evenly matched. Now, that was just an absolutely incredible finish. I can't stress it enough. So, before we go, we want to give a big thanks to all of our community who watch the stream, who participate in our tournaments, and we'd also like to reiterate again that Underlords Pro League is entirely self-funded. We are still on the hunt for some sponsors to continue to provide great high-quality tournaments and awesome prize support, and just all of the things that go into putting on a great tournament series. So, please do consider supporting Underlords Pro. You can, if you have any interest in sponsoring a tournament, please do contact the admins on Discord in the link down in the description below. That was an absolutely amazing tournament. Thank you so much for coming out and watching it and getting to experience that time with us. As we go, we will be hosting or having a raid on another stream. Let me get that set up here, and we can go and spread the love of Underlords to all of the other great streamers out there on Twitch. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Tidman354, and this is Blue Sapphire here. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you for next season.
Hopefully it's crazy.